For decades, Morgan Freeman has been the voice of wisdom, strength, and calm authority. When he speaks, the world listens. His deep, steady tone has narrated stories of hope, justice, and redemption, becoming one of the most recognizable voices in cinematic history. On screen, he often plays men of quiet power leaders, mentors, even godlike figures who seem unshakable. But at 88 years old, the truth behind that legendary presence is far more fragile than most fans realize. Behind the warm smile and iconic voice lies a reality marked by constant physical pain and deeply personal loss. While audiences see awards, standing ovations, and timeless performances, Morgan Freeman wakes up each day battling a condition that never truly goes away. A tragic accident left him with permanent nerve damage. Grief from heartbreaking family loss has shadowed his later years. Yet, he rarely speaks about it. This is not the story of a fading star. It is the story of endurance, of a man who continues to show up despite pain that would stop many in their tracks. At 88, Morgan Freeman carries a truth that may break your heart, but the way he carries it might change the way you see strength forever. Before the pain, before the tragedy, before the quiet battles of aging, Morgan Freeman was already a symbol of perseverance. His journey to stardom was not instant or easy. Born in 1937, he did not achieve major Hollywood recognition until his late 40s. While many actors find success early, Freeman spent decades working small roles, stage productions, and television appearances before finally breaking through. That slow rise shaped him. It built patience. It built resilience. And perhaps most importantly, it built gratitude. By the time films like Driving Miss Daisy, Glory, and The Shawshank Redemption cemented his legacy, Freeman had already learned how to endure struggle. His commanding voice and steady presence made him a natural figure of authority on screen. Audiences trusted him. Directors respected him. Awards followed. But success did not erase hardship, it simply made it less visible. In 2008, everything shifted. Late one night in Mississippi, Freeman was involved in a serious car accident. The vehicle overturned multiple times, and emergency crews had to use hydraulic tools to free him from the wreckage. Though he survived, the injuries were severe. His left arm and hand suffered significant nerve damage. Recovery required surgery and extensive rehabilitation. At first, doctors hoped mobility would return, but over time it became clear that the damage was permanent. The injury developed into chronic nerve pain, often associated with fibromyalgia. The condition causes ongoing discomfort that can feel like burning, stabbing, or deep aching sensations. For Freeman, it meant that something as simple as buttoning a shirt or holding an object could trigger pain. He began wearing a compression glove on his left hand to help with circulation. Even today, that glove is often visible during public appearances. Quiet reminder of the accident that changed his life. What makes this chapter heartbreaking is not only the injury itself, but how it altered daily life. Acting requires physical expression. Even subtle gestures matter. Losing full control of his hand was not just a physical limitation, it was a professional and emotional adjustment. Freeman had to adapt how he moved, how he performed, even how he stood on screen. Instead of retreating from the spotlight, Freeman continued working. He pushed through discomfort, relying more heavily on the very thing that made him legendary, his voice. Narration projects became more frequent. His tone, rich with lived experience, carried even deeper weight. In some ways, the pain refined him. It stripped away excess and left behind pure presence. But pain is exhausting. Chronic conditions do not rest. They linger. They remind. And aging does not make them easier. At 88, Freeman lives with a body that demands patience every single day. The world sees polished interviews and red carpet appearances. What it does not see are the quiet moments when the ache returns, when movement is slower, when energy must be carefully managed. Still, he continues. That determination is not about pride. It is about identity. Acting has always been more than a career for Morgan Freeman, it has been purpose. And purpose, especially in later years, can be the difference between surviving and truly living. If the accident tested Morgan Freeman's body, the years that followed would test his heart. Physical pain can be managed, treated, endured. But emotional loss leaves a different kind of scar, one that does not fade with time or medication. In 2015, tragedy struck Freeman's family in a way no parent or grandparent is ever prepared for. His step-granddaughter, whom he loved deeply, was killed in a violent incident in New York City. The news shocked the public, but for Freeman, it was not a headline, it was personal devastation. Those close to him described him as heartbroken. He did not seek attention. He did not make dramatic public appearances to discuss his grief. Instead, he mourned quietly. That silence for a man known worldwide for his voice carried weight. It revealed a private sorrow that words could not easily capture. Grief at that stage of life is complex. At 88, Freeman had already lived through decades of triumphs and losses. But losing a young family member is something no amount of life experience can prepare you for. Friends later shared that he leaned heavily on family and close companions during that time. Work became both refuge and distraction. Returning to film sets and narration booths allowed him to focus on something structured, something controlled. Acting offered him a place where chaos could be transformed into story. In many ways, storytelling became therapy. What makes this chapter especially painful is the contrast between Freeman's public image and private reality. On screen, he often portrays characters who offer guidance, strength, and reassurance. In real life, he faced questions no mentor can answer. Why does tragedy strike? How does one move forward after such loss? These are the kinds of questions he had once voiced in scripts, but now they belong to him personally. Aging amplifies grief. Loss feels heavier when you know time itself is limited. At 88, Freeman understands the fragility of life more than ever. Each year brings reflection. Each birthday carries gratitude, but also awareness. The body slows. Friends pass away. Memories become more precious. And pain, both physical and emotional, becomes of daily existence. Yet through it all, Freeman has chosen dignity. He has never allowed bitterness to define him. He does not speak publicly in anger. He does not present himself as a victim of fate. Instead, he continues to appear composed, thoughtful, and quietly resilient. That does not mean the pain disappears. It means he carries it differently. There is something profoundly moving about a man who has reached global recognition and still faces the same vulnerabilities as anyone else. Fame could not shield him from tragedy. Awards could not protect his family. Wealth could not erase heartbreak. His painful truth is universal. No matter how powerful you seem, life can still break you in ways no one sees. And yet at 88, Morgan Freeman remains standing. Not untouched by sorrow, but not defeated by it either. He shows up. He works. He speaks. Behind every steady word now lies a depth shaped by loss. Even as the years and tragedies accumulated, Morgan Freeman refused to let pain dictate the rhythm of his life. Acting and narration had always been more than professions. They were lifelines. Every project gave him purpose, a reason to rise each morning despite aches and reminders of loss. Chronic nerve pain in his left hand from the 2008 accident made some roles physically demanding. Yet Freeman adapted. He altered gestures, shifted blocking, and relied on the very instrument that had become his trademark, his voice. That voice, steady, soothing, and commanding, carries a resonance born not just of talent but of lived experience, of hardship endured and lessons learned. Throughout this period, Freeman's choices reflected a subtle but profound resilience. He continued selecting projects that inspired or educated, often narrating documentaries and stories that mattered to him personally. It was less about fame and more about leaving a meaningful imprint. The same man who could portray the wise mentor in films like The Shawshank Redemption and Invictus now inhabited the mentor role in his own life, showing the world that aging, pain, and grief could coexist with dignity and purpose. Friends and colleagues often remark on Freeman's calm demeanor, but behind that serenity is discipline and determination. Chronic pain is exhausting. Grief is relentless. Yet he moves forward, never asking for sympathy, never seeking pity. He navigates each day with measured patience, a reminder that endurance is often quiet and unseen. The world applauds his work, but few realize the strength required simply to get through daily life. Age has also brought reflection. Freeman speaks occasionally about mortality, the importance of cherishing loved ones, and the fragility of life. At 88, he recognizes that every performance, every narration is an opportunity not just to entertain, but to inspire resilience. He has learned that vulnerability, acknowledging pain, loss, and the limitations of the body is a form of courage, not weakness. Yet perhaps the most heartbreaking aspect of Freeman's truth is that his pain is constant but invisible to most. Audiences see the awards, the iconic roles, the polished interviews. What they rarely see is the man waking each morning to discomfort, facing memories of loss and choosing to rise anyway. Of his painful truth is simple yet profound. Even legends are human. Even icons endure daily struggles. And yet what they do with that endurance, the choice to continue, to inspire, to create, is what defines them. As Morgan Freeman enters the later stages of life, the lessons of his struggles become even more visible. He continues to work in film and narration, showing audiences what it means to carry pain without letting it define you. At 88, he has transformed suffering into a quiet strength that informs everything he does. The chronic nerve damage from his 2008 accident has not prevented him from acting. Instead, it has made him more mindful, more deliberate, and perhaps even more relatable. His performances are infused with empathy because he knows what it means to endure hardship. Freeman's personal losses, particularly the devastating death of his step-granddaughter, have shaped him in ways no public role ever could. Grief has forced reflection, humility, and a deeper appreciation for life's fragile moments. He has learned to treasure relationships, to listen, and to value each day as a gift. These lessons, carried privately, inform the calm, grounded presence he continues to display on screen. There is an authenticity in every word, every gesture, that only comes from having faced profound pain. Despite the weight of physical and emotional suffering, Freeman refuses to retreat from life. Retirement is not in his plans, not because he must perform, but because storytelling is essential to him. It gives structure, purpose, and a reason to rise despite discomfort. Chronic pain and personal heartbreak might slow him, but they do not stop him. In this way, Freeman demonstrates that resilience is not measured by absence of struggle, but by the determination to continue regardless. His painful truth is a powerful reminder. Even the most iconic, revered figures are not immune to life's challenges. At 88, Morgan Freeman carries injuries, grief, and the aches of age, yet he continues to create, inspire, and give voice to stories that matter. Of his story shows that real strength lies in endurance, in choosing to move forward each day with grace and purpose. And while knowing his hardships may break your heart, witnessing how he carries them gives hope, reminding us that courage is not absence of suffering, but the unwavering choice to rise above it.